All right, let's talk about crunching the numbers. When you're wholesaling or flipping this junker property to another investor, you can expect them to want to pay roughly 70 cents on the dollar minus repairs. That's the way to verbalize the formula. 70 cents on the dollar minus repairs. And I'll tell you what, from a teaching perspective, when I started verbalizing that formula, I noticed people found it much easier to understand. So, there's the formula. After repair value times 0.70 times 70% minus repairs equals what you can expect to sell this house for. Okay? That's all well and good, but a lot of folks choke on that. But then when I verbalize that as 70 cents on the dollar minus repairs, people get kind of an aha moment. And I should clarify what I mean by 70 cents on the dollar would mean 70 cents, what I mean is the dollar is your after repair value. That's what the dollar is. Okay, so 70% of the after repair value minus repairs. Now, you see the parentheses there, after repair value times 0.70? Do you know why those are there? Do that first. Right. Do that first. So please do that first. It's not after repair value minus repairs times 70%. Now, what we've just come up with is, to be sure we're all clear, what you can expect your buyer to want to pay. So that's really what we're going to plan to, and if we can for more, that's great, but that's what we're going to plan to sell this house for. When you're in a position to sell this house at 70 cents on the dollar minus repairs, you're in a good spot. That's a good place to be. You've heard me say that wholesaling houses requires you to take greed out of the equation and give the buyer a smoking deal. And so that right there is a good deal. If you are at a true ARV and your repairs are not overinflated because you're trying to be conservative, and you're at 70 cents on the dollar minus repairs, and you have buyers turning their nose up at this deal, there's something else wrong. That is a good deal. Now, there are certain markets where that may not be cheap enough, like Detroit. Right now, you can buy houses in the inner city of Detroit for $1. So let's see, let's gross that up. 70%. Wait, the ARV, that's a tough call. There are some exceptions, but I think for the most part, that is a very reasonable expectation for a sale price. Okay, so you obviously need to pay less than that if you plan to flip the property. If your intent is to fix it and sell it to the end user, what we call retailing, then you can pay that and make a nice profit. In fact, the way I've figured the numbers well, you tell me. ARV times 0.70, we're effectively subtracting what from the after repair value? How much? 30%. And the way I put this formula together, 20% of that is the profit margin for the person who does the repairs and sells it to the end user. The other 10% are expenses that they'll reasonably expect to encounter. And then, of course, there's the cost of repairs, which we've made a deduction for, or taken a deduction for. So this formula builds in a 20%, and what I mean by that is 20% of the after repair value. So on a $300,000 house, $60,000, it's built in a 20% profit margin for the retailer. If you are the retailer, if you intend to fix and sell this house, then you could comfortably pay that and expect somewhere at or about a 20% profit margin, 20% of the after repair value. If your exit strategy is to wholesale the house, flip the thing, don't touch it, don't mess with it, let someone else do that, well then you sure as heck better pay less than that, or you've left yourself no margin. So we got to go a step further when we crunch out these numbers. We've got to take another deduction of 5% to arrive at your maximum purchase price, or MPP is what I refer to that as. So the formula is after repair value times 65% minus repairs equals the maximum purchase price. So that 5% reduction or profit as at a minimum that we've built in now is already in the formula. So the very essence of this formula goes ahead and takes that 5% deduction. And when we're talking about these percentages, we're talking about percent of what? You tell me? The after repair value. Right. So now our maximum purchase price is the most we can pay if we intend to flip the property to a retail buyer, a retailer, the rehabber, investor, at 70 cents on the dollar minus repairs. Would we like to pay less? Yes, we absolutely would, which is why that is what I call your maximum purchase price, the most you can pay, or you're going to paint yourself into a corner. If you pay too much, you're going to have a hard time finding a buyer who's willing to pay too much. We call that the greater fool game. This is the bare minimum spread now. This 5%, which is what we've effectively done. This is not your offer. You need to offer less. This is the most under any circumstances you can pay. Now you might say, well, I can't buy properties for that here. I think I recall 2 or 3 examples in this stack from Richard where the asking price was right around there. And are sellers generally willing to take less than asking price? Are sellers generally willing to take less than asking price if the property's been on the market for 330 days? Yeah, I think so.